Tiger King. A show that had a big name and realistically rounded itself off quite nicely at the end of Season 1. However, Season 2, a season that nobody was realistically calling out for. It was commissioned and was released a few days ago. We were given a 5-episode long season picking up from the end of Joe Exotic being thrown in jail. So, was a Season 2 needed? And is it worth watching? Well, let's find out. Before I go ahead, make sure you go over to my Twitter, @BrainPilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. So without further ado, I'm BrainPilot, and here is a review of Tiger King Season 2. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers, so watch with caution. Well, where to begin? I was interested to see where Season 2 of the show was going to pick up from, and realistically if there was any real updates that warranted a 5-hour series. In short, the answer is basically no. The entire first episode of the show was centered around Joe Exotic's campaign, hoping to be pardoned by President Trump. I feel this was something that we already knew, and was in the news and across social media platforms for a long period of time after the show was released, and whilst all of this was happening in real time. I'd say most people knew the outcome of the campaign, and that Joe most definitely didn't get pardoned by Trump. So for me, and I imagine many others, it felt like 1 hour of the show was wasted. This then led on to the next episode in the season, which was centered around the disappearance of Don. This is actually an element of the show that I did find interesting. But I found realistically, during this episode, I didn't feel like I was watching an episode of Tiger King. I might as well have been watching an episode of FBI Case Files. Carol Baskin wasn't really in it that much. And we focused on the family of Don, which we rightfully should have done. But tying into the overarching theme of the season, there was no real update in the disappearance of Don. No new evidence that pointed the finger of blame to Carol, and no new information that brought in a new suspect. We delved deeper into the life of Don and the activity prior to his disappearance, but I feel that is because this time round the creators decided to dedicate a whole episode to this subject matter. After the first couple of episodes were out the way, we started to get to the tigers. This is when we start to see the main focus of this season, Jeff and Tim. The two current exotic pet owners that have a lot of publicity around their name and also controversy. With Jeff, we saw the update of the fact that he was briefly working with Tim, but also that he's now changed his story and the information that he told the police about Joe, and that he's now part of the Free Joe campaign, both himself and the hitman that were hired. They were claiming government corruption and they just went along with it. It seems a strange one as to how this even happened, but it built a strong part of the narrative in the final third of the show. Tim Starke, however, was painted in a light that highlighted him as an animal abuser and somebody who does whatever he wants to animals because they're his property, and he can do what he likes. I found the narrative around Tim Starke most probably the most interesting part of this season of the show. He was essentially the Joe Exotic this time round and was being convicted of animal abuse. We saw the demise of his zoo, his animals, and also his freedom. He went on the run but was ultimately caught, leading us to seeing him on trial right at the end. I would say that those three elements made up Tiger King 2. They had Joe Exotic loosely involved by being interviewed from prison and giving his thoughts and opinions on Jeff and Tim, but other than that it was heavily revolving around the other two. If I'm being honest, when watching Season 2, it didn't really feel like it should have been layered underneath the Tiger King umbrella. And realistically, I feel that's probably the only reason as to why it got commissioned again. There were no real updates that felt worthy of notifying people of. Joe Exotic is still behind bars, and there was no new information on Don. And Jeff and Tim seemed like they were still behaving in the exact same way as they were before. Personally, I don't think that there will be a Season 3 of the show. I believe that there should only be a third season of the show if Joe somehow manages to get out of prison. And even then, just give us an interview-style format. I found the season gripping in the sense that I was intrigued to see if Tim Starke was going to get caught, or if any information was going to come out about Don. But ultimately, deep down, I couldn't help but think if anything had been released, I would have just seen it on Twitter. It made an okay few hours, but I wouldn't say that it gives you the insight, excitement, or shock factor that the first season gives you. You're not missing much if you don't watch it. So, there you have it. What I thought of Season 2 of Tiger King. What did you think? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.